Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our parish annual meeting, especially those who are here and those who are following us through the stream. The prayer book is very mindful that there is a prayer for a church meeting, so we will begin as such. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, make your presence known as we take counsel for the renewal and mission of your church here at St. Thomas. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So I'd like to begin by setting the agenda first. Typically, we do our 3 items of business, and then we move to reporting and questions and answers for the year. So the first item of business, I have to warn you that our treasurer is not physically here, but is prepared to call in if we have questions that I can't answer, or if you would like more information about the budget. So in front of you is the Vestry approved budget for 2022. I hope the large paper, it's a little bit ungainly, but allows for a little bit bigger print size. I will speak to it just briefly. When we calculate budgets, we try to be as conservative as possible with things like plate contribution. After all, the year is what it is, right? COVID is what it is. So we've presented to you as conservative as we can imagine plate income, non-pledged offerings, knowing that the last couple of years we also had a projected deficit budget and did not arrive as such. We've arrived clean the last couple of years, and also what you're seeing at the end in a potential deficit, we have more than twice that amount of cash on hand should we arrive at that deficit, which we don't think or hope that we will. So that's the general speaking to the budget that's in front of you. If you have questions for the budget, we have 2 microphones up here. If you're at home, you're more than welcome to text me or enter it into the streaming, and Bob will help me with those questions if we have them before our first item of business, the budget, passing of the budget comes up. So invite any questions or comments for the budget. And I'll leave a minute because you're looking at it now. Yes, sir, John.
Mike, I have a question. What's the population of the congregation at this point versus last year?
So population's really, really difficult in a pandemic. You know, when we calculate, what the church asks us to do in a parochial report is calculate something called the average Sunday attendance, and it's based on adding up all the Sunday attendance and dividing, right? But it also has allowance for people who are watching stream or videos within a certain number of days of the Sunday service. This is new, and that counts 2/3. So this is very interesting, right? So John, I would tell you our ASA is still like 203, even though you're not seeing that physically, because we have like 90 people who stream or watch within 2 or 3 days. In terms of the number of pledgers, which does not always match attendance, I think it's 115 pledges, and that's up about 9 over last year. 9 new pledges, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question? Okay. Can I entertain a motion to accept the budget as presented? Is there a second? All in favor of accepting the 2022 budget? Seems like the ayes had it. Any abstentions or noes? Okay, thank you. Thank you. And that means Mike does not need to get called in. I do want you to hear that Mike Keener has served 8 years as our treasurer. And due to the sabbatical that's coming up, Mike has volunteered to serve again as treasurer. Your vestry has wholeheartedly approved that service. Mike is not on the vestry. The treasurer is not required by the bylaws to be on the vestry. So Mike will be serving as treasurer and helping groom his own replacement during the next year, which is really, really lovely. So that's item of business one. The second item of business before us at our annual meeting, and I think we can always do business in the front and party in the back, is to approve our slate of council delegates. So we're allotted 4 delegates to diocesan council each year, and the delegate slate that's in front of you, that is, these people have agreed to serve on your behalf. Council is similar to a vestry meeting on behalf of a diocese. It will approve the diocesan budget. There will be elections for positions like standing committee, executive committee, and it's good for you to know that 2 of our people are running for these positions. Cindy Roper is running for executive committee, and your rector is running for standing committee. I lost last year rather handily, but I'll run anyway. Cindy also lost. This is just how it is, right? So we run for those committees, and we do have people in the parish who serve at the diocesan level, like Dee Hicks is the chair of the Vera Gang Scholarship Committee. She was formerly on the diocesan ECW committee. So there's opportunities we can serve the larger diocese, which many of you know goes all the way out to Austin and up to Tyler and down considerably. I mean, the diocese is rather large. So we'll be meeting at the Woodlands Marriott Hotel Conference Center at the end of February for council. And the 4 council members that your vestry have approved to serve on your behalf are Elisa O'Neill, Dr. Darlene Hunter, Todd Parker, and Hal Snap. So I would entertain a motion to approve our representatives to council. Is there a second? I see a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Our third item of business that we have at our annual parish meeting is to vote on our vestry. Now, typically our vestry members serve a 3-year term. And sorry, I just realized I got a question about the budget. Even though we've already... What we have at our annual parish meeting is to vote on our vestry. Now, typically our vestry members serve... Okay, there's a question, I just want to go backward before we talk about vestry, that offerings were down over last year's projected budget. So what confidence do we have that offerings will be at the budgeted level? It's a great question. Part of it, I think, relies on me looking at that line item. I think the question is because we ran only through September. So let me ask our bookkeeper. Ellen, the pledged offerings, they came in as pledged, didn't they? Okay, I'm sorry that I only gave you the September actual. That was my mistake. That was when we started working on the budget, was in September. We spent several months doing this, and so you are looking at an old column. But our budgeted pledged offerings, if you look at that very top line, 4010, it did come in at 410, or slightly above, I think, actually. I hope that answered the question in the chat. Sorry about that. This is my mistake. I did not update that 2021 column, but people kept their pledge in 2021. Thank you for that generosity. Our vestry serves a 3-year term, and a reminder that vestry's primary responsibility is the fiduciary responsibility for the parish. So vestry does not do things like plan the liturgy. That's what the priest does. But our vestry is active in the mission of the church, and so really we are like a mission intention setting group. Vestry serves for 3 years typically, unless for some need they need to come off early. The vestry votes their conscience on your behalf. So this is not a true democracy. It is a Republican form of government. So when somebody's elected to the vestry, they vote their conscience in all matters that are put before the vestry, if that makes sense. We've put out vestry bios actually about 4 weeks ago. There's still some sitting in the narthex, if that's helpful, and they're linked online. And I'm pleased that the current vestry, has approved the slate of vestry members before us. That slate is Dr. Darlene Hunter, Elisa O'Neill, Todd Parker, and Dr. Julia Triple. So these are our 4 current sitting vestry approved members to be your vestry slate for 2022 through 2025. Terms begin in February. They begin the month after our annual meeting, and then they would run then until the January of 2025. Can I entertain a motion for our vestry slate? I see a motion. Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposition or abstentions? Thank you. Now, we get to do the fun stuff. One of the fun things we get to do is recognize our outgoing vestry, and I'll just speak briefly to them. And we always offer a token of our Thanksgiving, knowing that it's just a token. So the people who are rolling off this year have served through some difficult times, let's be clear. And I'm going to name them and offer them a token, and I'll do that at the end if that's okay. If you're here, I do want to give it to you, and if you're not, I'll give it to you later. Rolling off, in no particular order, and I'll try to do this alphabetically. Antha Adkins has served not only on the vestry for 3 years, but also in the position of clerk. So she's clerked our meetings, and she has been the vestry's representative on the school board, where she has also served as clerk. So we actually don't know what we're going to do without Antha, but Antha has essentially done double time on your behalf, and Antha, we can't thank you enough, not only for doing these jobs, but doing them thoroughly and well in church and school. So huge Thanksgiving for Antha. We'll save our applause to the end. Also rolling off is Ken Jurgens, who has represented us on the vestry now for 3 years. This is Ken's second term at St. Thomas, right? But also has been extremely faithful in doing things like helping organize our chalice bearers and our lectors, and keeping the vestry apprised on all things liturgical. Greg Heausler, who's not here this morning, served a 1-year term. We had somebody move, and so Greg picked up their term, and Greg has been extremely faithful this year. Tom Burns is rolling off this year. Tom has been a tireless advocate for our youth and family programming here at St. Thomas. Somebody who turned, like sometimes you hear that person who crammed 4 years worth of college into 6. Renee Bielski has crammed 3 years worth of vestry service into 4 and done us the gracious favor of serving as senior warden twice. So during a difficult time, I asked Renee if she would consider serving again. She wholeheartedly said yes, and her steady guidance, her charisma and positivity have turned vestry into really a delightful meeting. Darn it. And so we're extremely grateful for your leadership, Renee, as you roll off. So let me ask our outgoing vestry to come up so I can give you this token, and you can receive applause from your peers for the service you've given them.
You could tell I left it.
I've been on vestries for 10 years, and really this is a fun vestry, darn it. I mean, it's been really, really lovely. Okay, now I want to offer some opportunities to hear some reports from some of the people directing ministries here. So first I'm going to call upon our head of school, Mr. Colin O'Neill.
Well, good morning. It's good to see you all this morning. I was thinking when preparing my report, this is a very interesting time to give such a report. I came here almost 4 years ago to St. Thomas, and I think one of the things that when I was considering the decision to take up this role that really attracted me to this community, both church and school, was something that was listed on the website about the description of this parish, and that's that we are a place where we don't always all agree, and oftentimes we don't, but we all come together and we get along and we make it work. And I think as I reflect on the last 2 years that the school has been through with this pandemic especially has changed a lot of things for all of us in K-12 education. And I think about the challenges that we've gone through there, and I think about some of the national challenges that you hear about in the news, and not just with COVID, but a national level of divisiveness around a lot of issues. You hear about things like staffing shortages and substitute teacher challenges, and in our little school, we have all of that playing out here too. And so it's been a challenging couple of years. It's been an interesting month, and as we've seen some of those issues play out for us. But what remains true is that with the strength and support of the St. Thomas community, and we will continue to need your support in any way you would care to help us with that, we will persist and we will continue on. And I saw that, I think, a perfect example this last week. Our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade science teacher, if you haven't ever had a chance to meet her, and many of you probably haven't, her name is Kim Vetter. She was the recipient this year of a Connie Wooten Excellence in Teaching Award, which is a national teaching award given biannually by the SAES, for just all the amazing work that she does. She hosted our first annual science fair, and many of our parishioners came and judged at that fair and took time to lend their ear to our children, explain their passions for their different projects and things. We had a competitive science fair, which was really great, and we also opened it up to other forms of entry. So we had some students writing nature journals, and we invited in some people who are master naturalists to sit and talk to those kids about what they had observed. And just seeing that moment where our two communities came together in support of the brilliance of our children and our commitment to authentic, enjoyable learning fills me with that hope and that spirit that for all the projects that we have that we're very excited about coming up, we can do it. We can continue to do more together, and we will. And as challenging as it is for all of us in education, we will persist and we will continue forward. We have a really beautiful, that will be unveiled here in the next month or so, playground design that we've been working with. Natural playground designscape to really transform the updates that need to happen and make it just another extension of a beautiful place that our kids love to spend their time. We did have to cancel our gala this year. We were looking at the COVID surge for Omicron, and it was not advised that we get together for a large in-person gala, so we're exploring other exciting fundraising options for our school, including maybe a spring event, and some other opportunities to auction off student art through a student art show. and to just get creative with our fundraising to meet those challenges. And then we'll continue to have other events that we've managed to have. We've successfully held events in person for our kids and families. We're back to doing chapel every morning in person, and that's really been very healing and nurturing for our school since we were not able to do that last year. So we'll continue to keep you apprised of all the great stuff that's going on. If you would like to lend your time and talents to our school, I would love to, you can sign up to volunteer, and we will have someone reach out to you about ways that we can get engaged, whether that's helping us refresh our library collection or coming up and lending a hand for our walkathon that's happening later in the spring. There's lots of opportunities to get involved, and we'd love to see you around. Thank you. Do I take questions too?
Yeah, there are questions. Just give you a chance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, many of you know also that in the middle of really tough times, we decided to go ahead with our major growth area here at St. Thomas, which is supporting family ministry. And so we did this by bringing on Alex Hillis as a full-time family minister back in August. And Alex is going to come share with us a little bit about what's going on and how that's going to continue to proceed.
Good morning. I brought a friend along with me. I was getting a little nervous, so she told me she would encourage me. I'm Alex Hillis. I was hired here back in August as the family minister to St. Thomas the Apostle. And I must say on a personal note, my family and I have really enjoyed our time so far. We've really grown to love the community. Evie personally loves church. She loves coming. So we have really enjoyed our time so far personally as a family. As an employee and as a minister to the church here, I'd like to give some updates on kind of what we've been doing. We've really been starting to lay the foundations of what we are looking forward towards our future. We're taking the kind of walk before we run process. We have started for the children, we have started a children's chapel that by December of this past year, around Christmas time, we were having 12 to 15 kiddos show up. It was quite great. We've seen that number kind of go back down as it does at the start of January, but that kind of follows the regular church attendance. But it's good to see the flow is consistent with what we have here going on, and it's good to know that we have the kiddos, and we have the kiddos who are willing to come and ready to go. We've also started to do some movie nights, family movie nights, where we've had some good attendance with kiddos. So we are really starting to lay the foundation of children events that we are going to continue to do, and then also through the year 2022 add on to and do more. Youth, we have started a Thursday night Bible study at a coffee shop here in over here in Clear Lake, sorry. We meet at a coffee shop and we do a small little Bible study. That has become pretty well attended. It's a small group right now, but a small group, again, is what we're okay with starting. And we're hoping to grow that group and then add on to that in the year 2022, a youth group itself that will happen here at the church. So we have more and more going on. I've been very excited about our future and very excited about what we're doing here. Collecting my thoughts here with my daughter. We are going to have the bishop come on the date, December 4th of 2022, and on that date we're going to actually have a confirmation. So we are going to be creating a confirmation class for our youth and also any adults who are wanting to join. It'll be a fun Sunday where we can celebrate all the things, but also celebrate those we are going to try and confirm. Some big celebration news that we have personally as a family that will affect my ministry here a little bit is that we just found out that my wife is pregnant with kiddo number 2. So little one will have a little sibling, and she is due in the month of June, June 27th. So I still am very excited about our summer and on the potential of what we could be doing with our kiddos and our youth. However, I might be unavailable for a little while during that time, as I will be helping my wife. She liked that binky a lot. As I will be helping my wife and my future child in our first kind of 2 months together. So, but I will definitely still be here and still be back. I just might be a little unavailable for a little while. But we are very excited about that. But I also find it kind of beautiful and poetic that the idea that I had in my mind was that here at St. Thomas, we would hit the summer, we would truly try and grow the programs, and then go into the school year of 2022, 2023, really ready to grow our group and grow it even more. And it's funny because we're growing my family too, so all around growing. So I'm really excited about what we've got going on here. We've done really good foundation building. We're going to continue to do more foundation building this semester and into the summer, and really start to put the bones together, hopefully comes fall of 2022, and really start to see some of our hard work coming to a completion, and not really a finished completion, but you got to see a little more of it. Once you're building a house, you can see a little more of the bones, you can see a little more of what it's going to look like. So that's our update about children and family. Evie and I are open to any and all questions. All right. Thank you for your time, and I will see you all later.
And just a small disclaimer that holding a red-headed child while you speak to the congregation was not a condition for employment here. So I can't thank Alex enough for really coming on and getting a program going kind of on his own. I mean, side by side, but Alex has been a real self-starter, and Alex has helped really pitch in with our scouts, with our pumpkin patch, with becoming our new safeguarding officer for the campus. So huge thanks, Alex, to coming in and going. Okay, I want to talk to you a couple other things that are going on in parish life, and leave plenty of time if you have questions, because maybe you've heard some things already that you're curious about. But one thing that has never happened, to my knowledge, at St. Thomas that definitely is happening is Clergy Sabbatical. I'm not counting the days down quite, but your priest will be going on a sabbatical this year, and I want to speak to that a little bit. First of all, I have to do it. The diocese requires me to go. About 10 years ago, the diocese instituted in our letter of agreement not only that we can, but that we must. And they don't have to twist my arm. So the way this works is that we accrue 2 weeks of sabbatical per year served, and I'll be turning 7 this year. So my sabbatical will be 14 weeks. During that time, Father Jim McGill will be serving as sabbatical supply. He's sitting down front here so you can target him. So you'll have continuity on Sunday mornings, but also in pastoral visitation from Father Jim. Some people have asked, what am I doing, and when do I actually go? It's a weird timing, but I'm going to be taking a course to the National Outdoor Leadership School, which is the parent organization of Outward Bound. It's a 51-day course that's in Wyoming that's based on wilderness first responder, leading backpacking trips, swiftwater rescue, and leave no trace. It's not an outdoor skills school, it's a leadership school. And so hopefully this is an experience that's going to actually just help me become more comfortable in leadership, and also has some direct application for things like our scouting programs. Just to be honest with you, though, I couldn't sit still in a monastery for 51 days, so this allows me to walk around. So I'll be leaving on April 5th to do this 51-day course, which I realize is kind of like giving up your cleric for Holy Week. and Easter and Pentecost, and that's what's going to happen. And then hopefully, if COVID allows us to do this, the family is going to go to Scotland for a few weeks in June, and then kind of circumnavigate the U.S. to see some nieces and nephews and reconnect with family members. And I'll be back in August, and that's sort of the loose sabbatical plan. The diocese is fantastic in that they grant us some funding for this. And so if you look in the budget, you'll see that they've given us some, which supports sabbatical supply, but also supports the tuition rate at the National Outdoor Leadership School that I'll be doing, which wasn't particularly cheap, although it was one of the cheaper options that they offer. If you know anything about Knowles, it's a premium cost. But I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity because I'm not getting any younger and I will not be able to do this down the road, that I realize. So that's what's on store for sabbatical. I'm really grateful to tell you we've elected our new vestry reps, but one thing not everybody knows is that the rector chooses the senior warden, the vestry elects the junior warden, and the vestry elects the clerk. And so I'm pleased to tell you that in my absence and throughout the year, we have a veteran serving as senior warden. Mr. Herb Meyer has generously agreed to be our senior warden this year. Yeah, it's applause-worthy, right? I probably oversay this, but I mean it. What's phenomenal about this congregation is that it's full of people I'd like to be like when I grow up, and Herb is one of those people. And so thanks, Herb, for agreeing to lead Our Vestry. Are there any other questions or comments about the sabbatical? Again, this is new. In 56 years, you've never had a cleric do it. Some people have asked me, are you coming back? Yes. Contactability, do not call me. So I should tell you this, if you're planning on dying, you want to do that either before April or you want to do that in August. I'm sorry, a little bit aside. No, I don't know what my cell phone coverage will be like in Lander, Wyoming. I think it'll be 0. So Herb is prepared to call or text me in an emergency, but I won't be coming back early from that trip. I'm locked in, and so Father Jim is here ready to do any of that. I'm going to stay as surprised as I can. I just don't know what cell reception is going to look like in April and May. In June or July, I'll certainly be more accessible, although Herb and the vestry are being very supportive that you're not supposed to be working during your sabbatical, so we're going to try to keep it that way, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Yes? Yeah, we hope to. So my mother lives in Kentucky. Many of you know that. And my brother has 7 children, 2 of whom we've never met, but 5 of whom we try to see every summer. So I will probably take Emery to see her. We try to see our nieces and nephews every summer. And then there's some nieces and nephews in San Diego as well. Typically, when I was in San Diego as a priest, I served on the board of Camp Stevens, which is like the Camp Allen of the West. And they've invited me to serve as a summer chaplain, which would mean Emery could go there. That's one of the perks. If you chaplain, your kid goes there. So we're looking to transition to doing that at Camp Allen next year, but Camp Stevens invited, so we're hoping to do those kinds of things. There'll be some balance of time. I'm hoping to spend a couple of weeks with my son who lives in Georgia as well. I don't know if we'll go international. He wants to go to Machu Picchu, and so do I. So hopefully we can make that work this summer. But as many of you know, COVID's really tough. It's part of the reason I didn't take the sabbatical last year. There was just nowhere to go. The diocese actually normally asks us to take it after 6 years, but you have to take it after 7 or well, I don't know what they do with you, but I don't want to find out. Okay, couple exciting things going on, and please, at any point, if I've missed something, come to the microphone or raise your hand, because it's good to know a couple of things that are going on in our community. I mentioned to you last year that the diocese had a kind of a really lovely vision for doing some racial reconciliation work in our own diocese. And Bishop Doyle spoke, I thought, very, very, very deeply to the opportunity we have. And you can go back and see his council address in 2019. I know I was sitting next to Rob Puckett in Waco when he gave the address. And what Bishop Doyle said, is that Christ Church Cathedral was built using slave labor. And so recognizing that part of the history and recognizing that some of the endowments in the diocese have been funded that way, Bishop Doyle said, we have this heavy obligation to help repair the breach in our own diocese. And the way Bishop Doyle has done that in conversation with the diocesan foundations is by designating monies to assist with things like supporting students, specifically Black seminarians, historic Black colleges and universities, supporting historically Black parishes in our diocese who are in physical plant arrears. We all understand here how easily that can happen. And also by creating historical markers. You've heard me say in sermons here before or at the Peace that we as a vestry decided we would apply to make a historical marker here at St. Thomas. Our application was not to commemorate a place where violence had happened, but actually to celebrate the achievements of Black and other diverse peoples to the space program, given our proximity to NASA, and quite honestly, given the fact that Major General Charlie Bolden was a youth group leader, a Sunday school teacher, a senior warden here, and as many of you know, is head of NASA under Barack Obama. What we presented, of course, is the truth. If I ask you to close your eyes and tell me what you think of when I say the word astronaut, most of us think of Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, right? And so this is an opportunity for us to have new faces come to our mind that absolutely serve both faithfully here in the parish and community, but were instrumental in the space program. We have a committee of about 7 folks here that is working. The diocese has granted us $100,000 to make this art installation. And we've heard our first concept already from a diverse artist who lives in Houston and are working with that artist now. Hopefully that will come to fruition. If not, it'll be a call for a public works for more artist presentations. And I'll have more information for you on that if the committee settles in the next few weeks. But we have heard a detailed pitch already. So that's news. And this would be something that is not just for our own parish, of course, but would be open for the community with the hopes that people who visit Space Center Houston would spend time looking at this as well. It's tied in, our concept is tied in with the goal of our students here at St. Thomas creating a children's book that is written by children for children about 28 diverse faces. And some of, we're also hoping, of course, that we can have interviews with people like Mae Jameson, who still owns a home here, and Charlie Bolden, who is one of our parishioners, in the past. So that's the goal of that grant. It's called the Talbot Fund. And if you watch Diocesan Council this year, I've made a video speaking on behalf of it. Another thing that we're working on is obviously the installation of our pipe organ. And as you've heard me say, the matching program that was announced in November of $25,000, we did achieve that match. And John Leedy is the project manager for this, and I can't thank John enough. Cannot thank him enough for juggling all the particularities of this. I mean, it's got like 1 million pieces, let's be clear. And so to juggle not only those pieces, but the containers that fill them and the louvers that modulate their sound and a construction schedule, and everybody's impatient, myself included, is incredible. And so John is actively working to get some construction going to build the chambers that will house the organ, and also to rehabilitate the blowers that will be the life breath of the organ. We have sufficient funds pledged in our capital funds drive, which ends next year. to get the organ installed and playable at the 3/5 level, which is what we had set out to do when we started the capital funds drive a few years ago. When you hear that number 3/5 level, you're going to hear a sound that is superior to the current electronic organ that we have that is failing. It has, Garmin is able to do some incredible ICU on that digital organ along with Ben, but they don't last forever, and this one's on its way down. So I just want to report to you that if we continue to be faithful with our capital funds pledges, we will have sufficient funding to get the organ playable at a level superior to what you're hearing right now. End of December next year is when, and we're only doing work on a cash basis, if that makes sense. So we just got out of debt. We're not interested in going back into it. So all of this is timed according to our own generosity with our pledges. The other project that we're working on, Mr. O'Neill mentioned, we had a very generous contribution actually that allowed us to get a new playground plan. So instead of willy-nilly replacing things, many of you know the playground is a wonder, but it's like a dying wonder. We made it 30 years ago, and for pressure-treated wood to last 30 years in Houston with heavy use is actually really great, but it's dying. So we're doing our best to keep it safely operable. And in the meantime, instead of simply replacing what we have, somebody has generously funded a playground design through a company called Natural Playgrounds, LLC. And you'll see that playground concept in the coming weeks here in Brumley Hall. This affects obviously not only our school, which is the most visible ministry of our church, but you know our 3 Cub Scout, our Scout and our 2 troops use this playground. I can't tell you how often I come up and drive by on a Saturday and there's like somebody in the neighborhood having a birthday party on our playground because we open it and use it for the community. So you'll see more about that coming out. Mr. O'Neill referenced it, and I just wanted you to hear that we had a generous underwriter that did a playground plan for us, and it'll be done again in stages as monies allow. You're going to hear more about our Scouts next week on Scout Sunday, especially at the 10:30 service. But we're truly indebted to our Scouts who do all kinds of things for us as a church and for the community, including yesterday, scouting for food and going hand in hand with us making nutrition available in our community. One of the things not in our troop that we can look forward to, hopefully by the end of February, many of you know Ian Troxel grew up here as a kid, is now a Scout, and his Eagle project is to redo all of the flower beds on this side of our campus. All of them. He hopes to have them done by the end of February. I think it's pretty ambitious, but certainly by the end of June, that's what's going to happen, including a watering system that Ian has raised money for already, and that'll include landscaping bricks, new planting, so we can look forward to Scouting continue to beautify our parish for the community. Okay, I promised I'd leave you time for questions, and I did. Ellen, please.
Any progress on the kitchen repairs?
Yeah, so there's a question on kitchen repairs. One thing we were able to do is order new cabinetry for the kitchen. If you've been in there before, it looks sad. So we're working on that. And actually, we've ordered cabinets already through a generous gift that somebody offered at the tail of last year. The new cabinets we're on back order. They should be arriving in the next week or two, and we'll get them installed. We did have an issue over Christmas break. Our coffee maker, which we haven't been using, obviously, there's no coffee today, decided it was going to leak over Christmas when there was nobody in the building. So unfortunately, we've had some damage to the cabinets we already have, but we filed a claim through church insurance, and that's going to get handled. When, we don't know, but they've approved the remediation of that water damage to the cabinetry. So Maybe you've not been in the kitchen before. Certainly COVID's kept us out, but it's already heads and shoulders above what we had a year ago. We're able to put new counters and reface the mint chocolate chip green cabinets, and there'll be more cabinetry in the back instead of the sort of the plastic shelves that keep it looking in a constant state of disarray. So we're hoping to complete that work middle or end of February, Ellen, and then remediate those water damaged cabinets ASAP. It's hard when you remediate a cabinet that's got a lovely brand new quartz countertop on top of it. You have to sort of dig it out and rebuild it. So that's the only hesitation, and I can't speak to when that'll happen, but the plastic shelving should be out by the end of February. By the way, I've never seen the campus look this good, never. And it just speaks to your taking care of, frankly, our largest asset for ministry. 7 years ago, we talked about how taking care of our property is in reach and not outreach, and that's completely wrong. We open our building to all kinds of groups, and if we don't take care of it, we're not serving our community. So I'll tell you, for example, the Bay Area Assistees, they meet here twice a month, and our sound system supports it. We host recitals and concerts here regularly, and we're able to do that because we're taking care of our stuff. So thank you for doing that, because ministry needs a place. Ministry needs a place, and this is a place of community ministry. So I'm really grateful for your helping us do that. Well, I am always available until April the 5th. So if you have questions or comments, always available. But what I want to conclude our annual meeting with is how much I appreciate this community. I tell everybody who says, like, wow, you've got an interesting place, wait till you meet the people. The love that you've shared with my own family, the love that I should see you share with one another, the generosity you offer our community, frankly, it's unparalleled. It's unparalleled. And, just the other day, in fact, somebody said, what are you going to do after St. Thomas? I can't imagine not being here with you, and that's your gift. That's your gift to me. So on behalf of my family and our fantastic staff, including not only Alex, but Sean and Ellen and Garmin, without whom we'd be lost, and Ben, thank you for ministering to us, for being a loving community, for coming back, even when we disagree, if that happens, but for choosing to practice love with one another. Thank you for your ministry to my family, to your staff, and to one another. And now I'm going to give you a break before we start church. Thank you.